Welcome back to Hearthstone Grandmasters. This is our final match of Group B for the day, but not our final match overall. We are going to be finding out who the last player going through to the semi-finals on Sunday is now between Alutemu and tom60229. But then shortly after, we'll have Flurry versus Dawn as our elimination, or relegation, I should say, bracket match to find out who is that one step closer towards sadly being relegated out of Grandmasters.
Who's safe, Derek? Who's
Fine,
safe?
okay,
That's who we're
fine.
finding out today.
Phrase it however you want. Someone's going to be upset and someone is going to be happy, just like this match now, Gia, between Tom and Alutemu.
Yes, we saw Tom take a very dominant 3-0 sweep versus Chonsu, despite Chonsu, I think, putting in even more effort than we were seeing him put in previous weeks, perhaps. And it looked like Chonsu really had a lot of investment towards that particular series, but props to Tom. Very well, I think. Also knowing the ins and outs of how to play against Rogue because he's brought it so many times. But now for this playoff weekend, he has defaulted to probably what the pack mentality would be going for.
Yeah, much more standard stuff from both of these players, in fact. I do hope we get to see at some point the Warlock mirror again, because I feel like that matchup in particular is where the true differences in play styles start to come out for these players. I think we did disagree with a couple of the lines that Alutemu was going for earlier on with his Warlock. But I think, again, he always has strong consideration, strong reasoning behind any of the plays he does go for. But taking a look at the first match that we have here, Gia, it's not going to be the Warlock mirror. Instead, the Demon mirror. And taking a look at the list for both of these players, I've got to say, again, I am liking the player who isn't Tom to be in with the best chance of taking the mirror.
Sure. Alutemu has got that Frozen Shadow Weavers, of course, are in there for both of the lists. But Tom has Mana Burn as the one of for the additional tech card. And we've been back and forth as to the effectiveness of this when it comes early and shuts off a turn 3 or turn 5 in the same way that Frozen Shadow Weaver can. It looks just stellar, but in terms of top decks, it's pretty awful.
Yeah, whereas on Alutemu's side, we have the double Blowtorch Saboteur, which I think does a similar thing to Mana Burn. You know, it kind of eats up 2 mana. Obviously, you have more flexibility with what you have to spend it on, given that it just interrupts your hero power, not your cards overall. But the 3/4 body as well is absolutely huge. So I do think Alutemu is in a great spot in this matchup. And he's also shown, in my opinion, as have all the Japanese players, great proficiency with the Demon Hunter overall.
True, true. Looking once more through Tom's list, he also has double Frenzied Fellwing, a card which has largely just fallen out of fashion in Demon Hunter. Largely due to just the mirror, you're not able to get that much face damage in the early game and can't quite snowball the board because you have to respect the opponent's minions and their ability to swing back. And so the Frenzied Fellwing doesn't feel like it can come down early in this matchup.
And here it is, Gia, the final hurdle for these players to make it through to Sunday, where there will be a couple more hurdles before they qualify to the World Championships, where there will be a few more hurdles before they can become the World Champion, if they do qualify there, first of all. But the first hurdle of all, Alutemu starting things off with a pretty decent starting hand.
Amazing.
Quite stark contrast to Tom's very slow start.
Alutemu played the Battle Mage before the Battle Fiend. I love that. When you don't have an Umberwing follow-up, I think it just makes sense. And now it's eaten a piece of removal from Tom, and he can just follow up with the Battle Fiend on this turn. Unless he wants to go for something akin to what Chonsu had gone for.
I mean, if we were to see Coin Blowtorch Saboteur, there's a lot of things that go quite wrong for him. Even if Tom just developed a Satyr Overseer, he'd just be trading into it on the following turn. Frozen Shadow Weaver, and he would just be trading into it on the following turn. I guess he could develop a Satyr Overseer afterwards in response to either of those plays.
That just feels like Demon Hunter operating at half of their maximum capacity.
Right.
The big difference of when we liked Chonsu's play last time was because he had a 3-drop follow-up, which looked very clean with Umberwing hero power. In this case for Alutemu, the follow-up, if he coins Saboteur now, is not very strong. So ultimately, I like him holding on to it.
Is it cold in the shadow?
Yeah, and while it's not an especially good turn to be freezing the face, It's not disastrous at all, you know. It plays around coin, hero power, overseer to an extent, which is still reasonable.
Additionally, holding onto coin for Alutemu after he's seen the freeze means he can unlock the Warglaives into Satyr Overseer with Battle Fee, and that's insane.
Oh, just look at this now for Tom60229. Like,
Yeah.
hero power is locked out for Satyr Overseer. It's locked out for Glavebound Adept. It's locked out for Metamorphosis. It's still going to cost 3 after he transforms.
Tom needs to top deck a Twin Slice, ASAP, or a Warglaives of his own. As far as just this turn, though,
I'm wondering if he ascribes to the Lorinda school of thought
Right.
and just gets it over with. Plays the Demon Claws now.
I mean, the alternative was just playing a 4-2 Overseer, right? I think that this makes sense. It allows his turn 5 to be something that he already sees in hand, which is Satyr Hero Power, into turn 6 Hero Power Glavebound.
Taking the value trade as well instead of just trading straight up is something also that I'm not really convinced on, to be honest, because it gives the perfect Overseer Hero Power turn to Alutemu. This is unbelievably good.
Yeah. You could make the counter argument that this is more awkward against Warglaives, coin Warglaives.
Sure. I mean, I'm not even sure if it is though, because you know, now he's still, if he did go coin Warglaives, he'd just take both of them out and would still have a 3-4 on board.
Sure. Awkward, but not bad. And Tom really, really needs a Twin Slice. Oh my gosh. This is a disaster.
An
Hand just does
absolute
nothing.
disaster. Yep. Well, okay, so the interesting thing for Tom here is he's in such a bad situation that maybe he needs to say the only way I even have a chance is by getting the Twin Slice off the top, and therefore he's not even going to make a push onto the board. He's instead just going to develop the Metamorphosis, and honestly, I think I like this.
Right, I think this play gives you the 1% as opposed to the 0% from any other play. Because if he gets Twin Slice off the top, he manages to get a swing and that Metamorphosis Hero Power rolling. And some fringe out.
He's got double Spectral Sight as well, and a two Chaos Strikes, of course. So he has a few draws that he can get to potentially pull himself out of this one, but he needs them on this turn right now, and Umberwing is not it. GG.
Yep, that's just gonna close it out. Pretty rough to watch that one after we've seen so many back and forth, very intricate Demon Hunter mirrors throughout APAC, but every so often it will just end up with that type of outcome. Alutemu looking very chill. This is a player who I think ropes more than the rest of the Masters on average, but it's always for good reason. I've not seen Alutemu go for any rushed rope plays or any careless plays, and that's largely due to because he's gotten into this habit of taking measured decisions every single turn. I gotta respect it.
Yeah, I think he's sorted it out very much as well, because I remember back at the start of Grandmasters, with some of the more complicated decks, we were seeing him rope out, because it was the same pattern, like you said. He'd spend the vast majority of his turn thinking and perform his actions once the rope started burning. And sometimes in a deck that had a lot of actions to make, like a Cyclone Mage in particular, he would run out right at the end. But so far, in this meta, it is working out fantastically for his considered playstyle.
If you just jam 100 games of Cyclone Mage every day, your brain just becomes that much faster because you have to go through all of those different intricate, nuanced, and various just iterations of how all of those cards that are generated get played out. And so when you get it down to just playing Demon Hunter, where you have very limited but still different options, I think that it's just right up Alutemu's alley.
Yes, right up his Alutemu, as we do head up to another matchup that I believe will also be in that same vein, to an extent. It is going to be the Druid Mirror here, which I think we have seen consistently very strong display of the playstyle from Alutemu in the Druid Mirror. But, or at least with the Druid deck overall. The Druid Mirror, however, can be a little bit more weird and difficult to get a good grip of.
Of
course, it's not a true mirror because, of course, Tom has the dragon package, already seeing the Breath of Dreams available for him, but no dragon in hand just yet. But Alutemu is doing what the Japanese do with the Fungal Fortunes and the Glowfly Swarm.
Tom always draws the dragon off the Breath of Dreams to get the full ramp here. Always. Yeah, didn't want to risk it. Fair enough.
No innervate? Oh, a discard!
Okay, it's bad, but not disastrous here for Alutemu. Still very much in the lead.
Okay, there it is. I knew something was wrong with my eyes when I saw that there was no innervate. Of course Alutemu gets it here. Alright, just 6 glowflies, but more than enough to take a win. Is Tom gonna clap?
Gia, he can't even bring himself to do that. He's just depressed at this point. He does get the overgrowth, though, which allows him to go for a big Mount Seller next turn, especially if he can find a Bogus Bemis to go along with it. But at this point, I'm not even sure that'll be enough.
The one Roar wasn't lethal just yet for Alutemu, but he has Roar, Bait, Roar next turn! What?
Yeah, good one, Tom. Good one. As Alutemu is going to be sailing up to a very, very easy 2-0 here. And the only deck that he will have left, I believe, is then his Warlock.
Sorry, Jar, I'm not over this game. We've just seen this happen far too many times in APAC. It's just crazy.
One day, Gia will be free of the Druid mirrors. We're almost there.
Okay, I've collected myself. Yes, he has that Warlock remaining, and this is the deck that we had our questions about when he played it in the previous series, particularly when he was up against Druid and going for a very reactive game plan instead of trying to turbo complete his quest. I wonder if during that small time Alutemu had between then and now that he managed to talk to someone and get a better idea of how the matchup should be played, or whether he is able to reflect himself and see if there's something to be changed with his game plan.
Maybe. I mean, again, there are always strong reasoning behind all of Alutemu's plays. He wasn't just strictly misplaying. It's just difference in philosophy in the playstyle. You know, you and I think that in bad situations like that, you need to be a bit riskier, go for that quest completion as quick as possible. And I still stand by it. I think that is the correct way to go about it. But Alutemu's play was a little bit more board-focused, hoping to try and win it that way, almost playing like a player who has the Abyssal Summoners in his deck, as opposed to the Kartut Defenders. And, I mean, I feel like that's a good point to bring up now, because he wishes he was a player who is playing the Abyssal Summoners, because up against the Druid and the Warlock that is left for Tom, he would much rather have the extra mid-game punch.
Yes, indeed, to try and turn that pressure around. But for now, we are going to see whether Tom can get a great hand of his own, and that is looking like a double keep to me.
I completely agree. You want to find the ramp off of the fungal fortunes, and unfortunately, it doesn't get you any, or doesn't draw you dragons for if you get a Breath of Dreams. But you just want the overgrowth. That is what matters with this hand above all else. And Alutemu, I mean, I'm looking pretty clearly here at a Questing Explorer keep and tossing the Nether. Do you ever consider keeping it in this matchup? I don't think so. Just too slow.
I would not. But Alutemu, as we said, we've praised him for considering every single and any way to think outside the box and actually have it be effective. So I don't fault him for taking some time to consider it, at least. But Tom is snapping right back with the nutty Druid hand of his own.
the absolute dream. I mean, all he's missing now is the overgrowth, and he should be in a prime... Oh my god. Oh my god. He should be in a prime position to win this game. How does this man do it, Gia? Okay, well that's kind of bad. That's something at least to hold on to here for Alutemu. He doesn't have quite so much stuff to get through here. But I think this 1 or 2 waves should be enough already for Tom.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. You could just ramp again next turn. Go up to 10 mana. Or he could just go for a Mount Seller and use that as the hand dump leading up into the Overgrowth.
Yeah.
Logic would have it that the other way around is more effective.
I supply only the finest creatures.
Oh, okay. This is a relatively underwhelming use of the Mount Seller. Definitely answerable for Alutemu in some situations.
Wow, pretty good outcome though.
Yeah.
I mean, Tom is the complete opposite of Alutemu, that he does not hesitate at all. This is the second Mount Seller. The other one was discarded. So after this gets cleared, I mean, if it does, I think the big consideration for Tom is that it probably doesn't get cleared if it comes down this early.
Yeah.
Then Tom would have to be fishing for his Ysera to get down threats or the glow.
And I think the main thing to take away here for Alutemu is that he's likely to be able to clear off this Mount Seller here. Just needs to deal 3 damage to it, I think, to go Soulfire plus the Mortal Coil.
Yeah. Big deal here. I wonder if Tom had calculated the odds of this being able to get cleared. Okay, of course you can't come up...
Dragon Queen is rough.
Yeah. Of course you can't come up with discrete numbers, but you can think of combinations of cards your opponent could have. Even just Morg, Nether Breath, Morg, Soulfire deals with the Mount Seller, and the other 2 Ps are far less threatening. But Tom says he wanted to dump cards. He has a good follow-up. He's gonna get the Ysera with Overflow.
I wonder if it's Brightwing here, weirdly enough. Like, I don't want Cobalt Spellkin filling up my hand. I mean, if you had the second Mount Seller, then I would definitely go for the Cobalt Spellkin, I think. But with that gone, Big Ol' Whelp is just more card draw, which is okay. But yeah, Brightwing could just get you a huge threat.
It also just fits in with the Overflow turn, if nothing better to dump. Makes sense. The one time we picked Brightwing from any effect ever.
You love to see it.
So Alutemu could go for Nether Breath Coil, draw off of the Raven.
At 8 cards, he can't quite get the play of Tap Dark Sky's Mortal Coil. It's just short.
Yeah. Could also just say Kartut, but it lines up so poorly against these 4 attack minions.
Possibilities.
Yeah, I feel like that's the worst of his options. He just wants to make sure he's tapping through his deck, trying to set up for that plot twist as soon as possible.
He might forego a tap this turn and just go for Questing Explorer instead.
Okay, fair.
But that does make plot twist worse.
Right, I like this a lot.
Trying to end the turn with as many cards in hand as possible, but also removing that Dread Raven.
11 out of 20 means that next turn he will go up to 12. So plot twist alone next turn, even if it's the first card played, I believe, would just give him quest completion, very importantly.
Crucial in the matchup. And he would be shuffling back 2 of the most expensive cards in the deck because... Alright.
Yes, you're right.
Dragon Queen itself was already discarded for Alutemu, so he doesn't want any of these in hand.
Blood Mage Down is a little bit of an unfortunate outcome for sure, but potentially 4 burst with a couple of Moonfires later on. It's not nothing.
I'm the Mali Druid now. I like tossing out the Ironbark over Moonfire here. Just makes his board a little bit more resilient, and he can keep the cycle going potentially later on. But the thing is, if you cycle with Fungal Fortunes, you could discard Ysera.
Yeah, I think that's probably just being held onto for the rest of the game at this point. At least until Ysera comes down.
It could find him Glowfly though, and Soul of the Forest, which is also very threatening.
Yeah. I don't think there's any rush, especially against Alutemu's deck that doesn't even run the Abyssals.
True. Well, that is quest completion. He can fit in the tap after this. There's a lot of, I guess not that many, but several very impactful outcomes. I was gonna say Nether, but that's not online anymore. Malagos is huge.
And ooh, 0 mana Dark Skies is pretty good in order to get a an extra bit of help if there is a Soul of the Forest board he needs to clear off, for example.
We must stop this.
Wow. Just curve it home.
Oh,
Nosdormu?
it's just Nosdormu, right? Nosdormu's nuts.
I mean, in the fact that human error is a thing in this game,
Right.
yes, it is. I mean, as soon as he slams that, I think Alutemu just goes for a Twisting Nether. So this could be Tom's, you know, get a Twisting Nether out of hand free card. That is not very catchy. But if Alutemu nethers this turn and Tom's follow-up is Nosdormu, then Alutemu responds with more Nether Breath, most likely.
Yeah.
He kind of has to remove this, right?
I wonder.
At least something. You're so afraid of dying here.
So if he goes Moarg, tap Dark Skies, it's 20 damage to the board.
Which is not a board clear, so we would have to throw down a Nether Breath as well. But that's fine. Ooh.
Rain of Fire. There's 26 on board. Rain of Fire would put it down to 16. Yeah, this is a clear. Able to fit in a Sense Demons as well for cycle. Double checking, triple checking, but the math checks
Nicely
out.
done. Very nice turn there from Alutemu. And now all of a sudden, he's got pretty good answers to a lot of what Tom can do. Obviously, Ysera is eternally a big threat. But if we were to see Glowfly plus the Soul of the Forest, all of a sudden, Twisting Nether plus Crazed Netherwing is insane. And Tom is just going for that Soul of the Forest play. And if he hits Ysera...
Oh, no! That's... The only other threat left is the other Glowfly, and this late in the game, it's hardly a threat for Warlock.
Tom was just out of threats, right? Alutemu can answer this so easily now.
Tom was digging for the Soul of the Forest there. Didn't quite hit it.
That was so risky.
I don't know. The possibility of discarding Ysera would have discouraged me from making that play as well, but... I mean, Tom now just has this Nosdormu and a Dream.
Well, he specifically doesn't have a Dream because he discarded Ysera. That's the point.
Yeah. Alutemu doesn't need 15 seconds to spot this Moarg clear if he wants it.
Yeah. Just do it. Just do it. You're winning the game as it stands. If you do this, you are so far in the lead. Exactly.
Yeah. Fit in the Cartud, can fit in a tap, he's so far ahead.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Now you have time to think.
Yeah.
Let's hit the Mally.
He knows everything that Tom has left. All of the randomly generated dragons are gone. Mount Cellar, Ysera discarded. It's just the second Glowfly and perhaps the Soul of the Forest on top of that. But even if that comes down for Tom and it's not in hand, Alutemu has just the double Netherwings. It's over.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, a bit of a weird game all over there for tom60229. You know, going for a very early Mount Cellar when it was the only one left in his deck, which was easily dealt with by Alutemu over a couple of turns. And then going for the Fungal Fortunes, which could very easily discard the Ysera.
I have questions.
I have questions too.
Well,
now just setting up for his final chance, Gia, being Glowfly plus the Soul of the Forest.
very last card in the deck is unfortunate, but I do think Tom could have shown a bit more restraint in playing this matchup.
Yeah.
Alutemu is feeling it now. Even last turn, I think he already... And that means 3-0 for Alutemu, and straight to the semifinals are all 3 of the Japanese players. Insane.
Yep. Even ignoring anything else that can go on, you're pretty much just facing lethal here. But okay, even after it's dealt, double Netherwing, all the threats are answered. And as you said, Japan, the perfect way to finish it out here. It couldn't be a better bookmark on this incredible story here for the Japanese players. All 3 of them through to the semi-finals.
Just nuts. The odds of that happening? I mean, at that point, you just have to believe they have a skill edge over the rest of the field. Whether it's skill or preparation or both, I think it's both. They're doing something right. And my gosh, well deserved. But of course, shoutouts to Tom for making it this far. It unfortunately means that the players who enter... Love it from Alutemu. Unfortunately, it means that the players who made it to playoffs from Division B, despite their best efforts and additional hurdles to have to jump over to make it this far, still don't get to make it to the semifinals. But we do have our top 4 rounded out.
We do indeed. In a minute, we'll be able to take a look at the bracket to be able to see how things shook out today. With, of course, Surrender flying through in his first couple of matches. I think he could not be more deserving. I mean, honestly, this is very arguably the 4 best performing, best players over the course of our Swiss and round robin. There you have it. Surrender up at the top. Alutemu coming up in second place as well. What a performance from both of these players this season.
That's right. Surrender and Alutemu can definitely agree that they're up there at the top. Glory as well. My only qualm with that is maybe you would slide Rivius there instead of Possessi, but Possessi has been also just playing pretty well most of the times we've been seeing him and has had the lineups to back it up. I'm just really happy to see this start from APAC. I think it shows our cream of the crop, and any one of those making it to Worlds would be a worthy competitor for anyone in the other regions who might think that APAC is slacking off.
Yeah, I think we couldn't have chosen a better select group of candidates to represent Asia Pacific at the World Championship later on. But sadly, only one of them can go there, Gia, and that is what we are going to be finding out tomorrow. We're going to play both the semi-final matches and then, of course, the grand final of Season 1 of Grandmasters for 2020. We will crown our champion and be deciding who is going to be going all the way to the World Championship later on. Cannot wait for that, Gia. But first of all, it is not the end of the day here. We have to do the slightly more grim job of finding out who is going to be safe. A happy moment. Who is going to be safe from relegation up next?
Thank you, Derek. I was avoiding trying to talk about this one because this particular matchup, just looking at the 2 names in the context of the bracket they're in, it's just rough. Flurry and Don. These are 2 guys who have been at the very beginning of the Korean Hearthstone scene